All right, y'all. I think we're on. Okay. So, if you're, well, no one's here right now. So, I guess I don't have to say this at the moment, but I was having some difficulties with the stream. It was saying that it was saying I ain't had no signal, basically. So, I think that we are good now. Yeah, I think we're good now. So, I think we're in a good place. Okay. So I do want to like chit chat just a little bit first, just to make sure that the stream is good. I was on for like, I don't know, I think it was maybe about 2 or 3 minutes. And then just like out of nowhere, it was just like, you ain't got no service. And then it froze on me. So I was like, what? What? I thought we was good. Hey, Adrian. I saw your responses and I am definitely going to be, I'm going to email you. And I'm gonna email and I'm just gonna bring everything that you're interested in together. So I'm gonna email you about selling without selling out. And I'm also gonna email you about the creative thinking style. So I want you to know that I see it and I'm putting it together. Be looking out for an email from me tomorrow. Okay. And then I will address all your interests. And I'm really glad that you enjoyed the conversation. I am super excited about today's topic. And I've been talking for almost 2 minutes now. So I think that we're in a good place. I think that we're okay. And the stream's not going to cut off on me. So, yeah, it's always so frustrating. So, something that I forget and then I quickly remember once I get on is that every time I try to schedule a live stream, on YouTube, literally every time I try to schedule a live stream, I run into technical difficulties and I have no idea what that is. And so I don't schedule streams typically for that reason because every time I schedule it, it just never goes the way that I need to. I always end up having some kind of problem. And so I think about it like when I talk about, oh, I wish that I could be more, I could have like a better way of notifying y'all and letting you know, but I don't know what it is and I don't know if anybody else has encountered this kind of problem, but literally every single time. Every time without fail, I try to schedule this live stream and then it really gets annoying because you send the link to people so that they can go and they can join it, but the stream is no longer relevant if I can't even go live using that setup. So, yeah, but we're good now. I think I'm in a better place and we are going to get into it. So, um let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I'm getting all the little, housekeeping out, talking a little bit. And I'm gonna tell y'all who I'm talking about, and then I'm going to start talking like I'm recording this so that I can use this replay for later. But I have a friend that I met, another friend I met on TikTok. I have a lot of connections on TikTok, y'all. So her name is Chelsea. And Chelsea and I got connected on TikTok. And at the time that I met her, she was talking about living a luxurious life and it was almost kind of like overcoming the generational traumas. I don't really It wasn't really trauma, but it was like the generational beliefs around finances and leaving a legacy you can be proud of and living this life of ease and luxury. And she was creating a community, and at the time, I don't know what the name was, but I think it might have been like Gems and Jungle at that time, or I don't know if that came later. But anyway, it was a community and it was catered towards women, especially women of color, because we tend to be the ones that are used to living a life where we work really hard and we're not used to like doing things for ourselves, investing in ourselves. The conversations around finances, money, all of that stuff is just not things that we many of us grew up really knowing and understanding. And she talked about how she had got to this place in her career where she was earning a six-figure salary and she was still broke. Like she still living paycheck to paycheck. That's the way she kind of described it. And how it was because she was giving out more than what she was bringing in. So taking care of family and giving, pouring into them, giving to them, and doing it out of this sense of obligation and feeling like this is what she has to do to be a good daughter, and this is what you're supposed to do to be a good sister and a good auntie, like, all of these different roles and titles that she felt like she needed to fulfill. And so we met that way, and through conversations, and yes, go upstairs and watch it, Harry. And so through her evolution and journeying, she's gone into talking about systems and creating systems for your business. And now she's at a place where she's exploring her personal brand and sharing more of her life. And that is where we are this is where we are being introduced to her. And this is the breakdown that I wanted to give a little context and some clarity to who she is, so that when you hear this breakdown of her creative thinking style, and you hear the ideas that I share that she can use for her business and to turn it into a business, is going to be, oh my gosh, y'all. I got excited when I was just reading through it. I was like, oh, this is just so good, so good. So if you are if you're excited, y'all, let's just put ready in the chat. Okay. Put ready, put excited. I'm here. You can put an emoji. You can do the dancing girl emoji. Y'all know that's my favorite emoji. And we're going to get into this topic. I'm just like, I can't wait. I can't wait. Like, I was so hyped. You see, I got my makeup on. I put my outfit on with the little, clavicle showing. I was like, I gotta do my girl right. Okay. I told her I had a little gift for her. Her birthday was last week. And so I was like, I got a gift for you. And so this breakdown is gonna be my gift to her. So yes, without further ado, we are gonna get into this case study. So you're ready? You're ready? Okay. I see it, Adrian. All right. So you know how there are some people who create content and it feels chaotic and random and all over the place. And then there's you. And when I say you, I'm talking about Chelsea. But I'm also talking about you if you connect to this thinking style, that your content feels thoughtful, it feels intentional, it feels cohesive. Even when you put out pictures, they have this sense of order and clarity and direction. And it's not a coincidence because you are a systems thinker with an aesthetic taste. That's the combo, y'all. So today's combo is a systems thinker with an aesthetic twist. Okay. So I'm breaking down how your mind works, especially if this is your combination, and why it makes sense together. And why, not only why it makes sense together, but why you really want to lean into this thinking style. You really want to lean into it and allow it to unfold and allow it to take you on a journey. Because as a systems thinker, and I'll get into the breakdown, but I want to give this overview first. As a systems thinker, you desire clarity and order, and you want things to make sense. You want to understand the relationship and the correlation so that things can flow, right? That's how you think. You go straight to, how do I put these into a place that makes sense, right? But as an aesthetic thinker as well, You have to allow yourself to experience life, the beauty, and see the harmony. And sometimes that doesn't necessarily come first. It doesn't come necessarily in the order that you may think. And so the beauty in this is, first of all, you see the beauty and how the world operates and how it works, but you also are able to make that beauty, give it a sense of purpose, give it a system, give it some clarity that helps it to ease and flow and move and just be so like, oh, it's like sensual. Like that's why I said that this is gonna be sexy. Like I don't even know how else to describe it, y'all. It's gonna be sexy. So when I share, I'm gonna share Chelsea's platform. I'm gonna share her Instagram as well. So if you want to follow her and you want to see exactly what I'm talking about, like it's gonna be like the correlation is gonna be, yeah, it's gonna blow your mind. Okay. So let's get into it. So, first, we're going to talk about the systems thinker because this is going to be the primary way that you think. This is going to be your dominant thinking style. So, as a systems thinker, you are a strategist. You chose this on the poll? Ah, yes. You was on the money. Okay. So, yeah, as a systems thinker, you are a strategist. So that means that you value clarity, you value structure, frameworks, connecting the dots, pattern recognition, and long term perspective. You are great. You are especially adept at being able to create a system and a framework and a thing that helps to provide longevity to an idea, right? That's one of the things that I love about systems thinkers is that they're the ones that really give the ideas space to evolve and to grow and to last, right? But on the other side, you know, complementary, you have the aesthetic thinker. And the aesthetic thinker is the curator. And as a curator, you value taste, cohesion, sensory impact, intentional visuals, beauty as communication. The aesthetic thinker is a curator. Oh, a curator. And oh my goodness, I'm just thinking about all the ways that this all makes sense together. So, these are the things that are at times competing with each other, right? But when you understand that both serve a purpose, they can come together to create something beautiful and impactful and something that's so creative and marvelous and just outside of the norm of how people would appreciate or even understand certain aspects of living. So, when we talk about Chelsea, Chelsea has a couple of things, a couple of areas that she is especially now presenting and exploring in her personal branding journey. Okay. So she is living in a major city. She is living in Chicago. She moved to Chicago. At this point, I think that is close to a year. She's been in Chicago for a while. She relocated from Texas. She is a single woman. She is frequently traveling, going to different places, especially going to places outside of the country. She lives a life of luxury. And when I say luxury, I mean luxury. She loves nice things, things that are refined, that have taste and just class. She is appreciative of those things, and not even just the things that are expensive, but she also appreciates art and artists, and then experiences music, like things that just like represent an artistic life. She appreciates those things, not necessarily as a participant in it as terms of being an artist, but appreciating the art and the way that it enriches one's life. She also frequently talks about having a life that has ease and flow. Okay. Ease and flow, ease and flow. And as you hear these different things, these different connections, especially when you talk about luxury, ease, flow, and the aesthetics of things, you just see how both of her thinking styles are coming into play here, right? And so, because these are the things that she frequently talks about, she adds a worldview that represents independence, intentionality, agency, which is a big one because she is big on allowing you to see that you have the ability to create the life that you desire, right? It may not be the answers that you want, or there may be things that are challenging to accomplish that life, but she wants to present a life that shows you that you have agency, refined experiences, and high standards. Okay, like when y'all see her content, it's gonna all make sense, right? So, um, together together all these different aspects represent a well designed life. Okay, a well designed life that includes systems that allow you to design the life that you desire. Okay, and beauty is a part of that makeup, it's a part of the architecture of how she does that. So I'm going to talk about a couple of different areas that not only is she already operating in and talking about in terms of her content, but I'm also going to share some areas and some ways that she can bring these together. So I'm going to have four different areas that I'm going to touch on in today's video in this breakdown in this case study. So we're going to start with the content themes, the four content themes, and then I'm going to move in the second half. I'm going to move into the ways that she can monetize these things, the way that she can craft products and services and experiences that bring together both of the ways that she thinks. Okay. But the reason why Chelsea is today's case study specifically for systems thinking is because the systems is the like the center or the foundation of living this beautiful life. Okay. Like I think that might be the best way to describe it. So the systems allow for you to live this beautiful, luxurious, well designed life. Let's get into the content themes. Are y'all ready? Are you excited? Is it like getting you excited so far? Before I get into the themes, what do you think about this combo? Because I feel like this could be one of those combos that's maybe a little unexpected, something that you wouldn't think goes together. And that's another reason why I wanted to use her as an example because systems by themselves can seem so serious and even clinical and just very rigid. But the way that it's presented and the way that she continues to express systems and communicate it, it shows you that it's necessary. Even if we don't recognize that we have systems, we are operating in systems. And whether the systems need some tweaking, whether we have great systems and we just don't recognize that we're using them, systems are a part of life. And so I love that I get to present somebody to you that demonstrates this perfectly. Yes, yes, yes. Systems can be freeing. And I think the best ones are. I think the best ones are. So, all right. Okay. I'm excited, y'all. So, let's get into these content themes that naturally fit the way that Chelsea is. So, the first one is the architecture of an elegant life. So, I already told y'all my girl lives a life of luxury. Okay. And I mean that seriously. I don't know how much money she got in her bank account, but the way that it looks to me, it looked like it's a lot. It looked like it's a couple zeros in there because she just presents this life that looks full and rich. And like it is exactly what she wants to present. So she doesn't just show a lifestyle of luxury, but she shows an intentionality in how her life is built. So her content could look like, and often does look like, a minimalistic weekly planning, and that can be filmed aesthetically. She's actually shown a few times the drinks. I'm sorry, y'all. My notifications are really going off. I need to mute them. Hold on. Okay, because it's distracting me. Okay. So, minimalistic weekly planning. She shows in her stories sometimes she shows her drinks and she has these different combos. Like she was on like a matcha kick for a while. She might still like matcha, but I just remember her showing a lot of matcha drinks. So and she filmed them and the way that they look, I enjoy watching it. I ain't make none of them drinks, y'all. But I enjoy watching it because it just was very aesthetically pleasing to watch her make these drinks. She also some ideas. Another idea that she could share is her personal systems for different areas of life. So dating, traveling, wellness, money, and how money flow, money management. And I think that even like saying money management doesn't necessarily align with her combination. So I think money flow, money manifestation, attraction of it, ease, cash flow, ease, something like that, where it still represents like that flow and that ease. Something like that, that terminology is more aligned than, money management. How to create a life that feels spacious in a busy city, which I feel would be a really good one because I like the idea of a juxtaposition between having a slow pace living in a busy city, in a city that's always moving, always going, that would be a really beautiful juxtaposition to demonstrate and to show in the content. So things like having a slow and intentional morning, or going to yoga, or sitting down with friends and just having a game night. Or sometimes she shows her the events that she goes to, like when she travels to art galleries or to different events that are more relaxed and chill and just easygoing. So all of those are ways to show in a spacious in a life of ease in a city that's very fast paced and busy. Flow driven routines that are grounded in structure. So if her routine involves taking the morning to craft her drinks, or taking she will craft her drinks in between her like work, like in between something, a break in during work. So working, and especially because she works from home, so working from home, taking a break, and during that break creating a drink to kind of reset and get back into the swing of things once it's time to log back into work. Or behind the scenes of how to design a life that feels simple, even if it was something as simple as how, like, my makeup routine that only uses 5 products, but these are all really good quality products, so it carries a long way, right? Something like that could even represent a life of ease and flow and luxury, but it also is a system, because even just putting on makeup, a makeup routine is a system, right? So this would balance her systems thinking because it brings clarity and frameworks. And it also brings the cohesion and the beauty, and even just the aesthetics of it. Like I said, the aesthetics of it, the look of it, watching it just feels good, and it makes you desire that, but it also lets you know that it's possible, right? So the second idea that I have, or the second area that her content can go in, is the strategy behind a soft or luxurious life, or a life of ease. I know like soft life is, I don't know if soft life is still like a big thing. I feel like I hear people talking about it. I saw a video where somebody was like 2026 is going to be the year of the soft life. We'll see, because 2025 did some numbers and it was not giving soft life. It was giving hard knock. But even like showing how to experience a soft life in the midst of chaos, that would be an interesting one too. But I got a little sidetracked with that, but let's get back to it. So the strategy behind a soft life, a luxurious life, or a life of ease. So most creators just show it, right? Especially when you think about some of the most popular lifestyle creators. You see their morning routines, especially that one guy that went viral, and he had that really wild morning routine. And it was just like, what? Like, how do you what? what does that even mean? Like, how are you doing all of this in a day? But showing what supports this kind of life. Okay. So I'm gonna give you some examples. The first one, three things, three systems, or three tools that make solo traveling easy, right? So you're showing the ease or the soft life with the traveling, especially solo traveling, which is so dope to me. I love when I see women doing solo traveling. Like, I'm always cheering for that. But showing how you create a life where you are able to solo travel. Like, how do you set up your PTO so that you have enough time to have an extended vacation? Or what are some of the platforms or the different tools that you use to find good trips? Do you always go to a travel advisor, or do you have an agent who takes care of actually planning the trip for you so that you're not sitting up at 2 a.m. on the computer on Expedia stressing yourself out, right? So do showing how these steps can create a way for you to solo travel. Okay. The next one is why ease is something that you design and not wait for. And I feel like that one would be an extremely powerful one, because I feel like so many of us, especially women, we're waiting for the moment that life gets easier. You know, we're waiting for the moment or the time where our kids are old enough to do things for themselves. And like, finally, like, when my kids can do for themselves, then that's when I finally have time to myself. But the kids get older, they move out, and then all of a sudden you're just adding on more to your plate, and you're not really experiencing a life of ease. Or why do you have to wait until they're grown to experience ease in your life? And so being able to show people that ease is not something that you just happen upon. It's something that you can design for yourself in whatever way that looks like, right? So why ease is something you design, not wait for. The next idea is my decision making for living a high quality life, right? High quality living. So, what are some of the things that are non negotiables? What are some of the things that are your standards that you have set so that you can live a high quality life? If one of those things, I'm going to be telling on myself here, okay? Don't yell at me. And one day I'm gonna get better at this, okay? But maybe an aspect of living a high quality life is not sleeping with the TV on. Don't come for me, okay? I'm being vulnerable here. I know it's a problem. I will get better one day. That day is not today. But if that will create a high quality life, like, I know it definitely would create some higher quality sleep. That's for sure. Adrian says ease is something you create. Absolutely. Absolutely. Another idea, how I structure my environment to support my feminine flow. And that one reminds me of the women who educate us on our cycles, right? Cycle syncing. Is it cycle syncing? I think that's what it's called, where you organize your life and the things that you do around your cycle, which impacts your energy levels, right? So, depending on what phase you are in your menstrual cycle, I do these things here, and I save this for when I am a little bit more low energy, or I save these things for a high energy. Like, something like that could be a way to describe a system that would support feminine flow, right? And that was just like a very feminine example, right? That doesn't have to be the only thing, but that was just an example. That's the first example that came to mind. So, how to structure an environment that supports it. What are some of the things that you need? Like, maybe even something not necessarily menstrual cycle related, but something as simple as, one thing for me, I don't know if this is necessarily a feminine thing, but I feel like it is. But I like to have, I got a candle warmer. It's like a lamp and a candle warmer. And I realized that having Having that light and that candle, especially because it's one of those, it's a warm tone light, it's not a cool tone light, it's not like an LED light. So when I turn that on in my room, it really just sets the mood for me to feel at ease, and it makes me feel calm, and it makes me feel excited to just be in my bed, and not because I'm finally laying down after a long day, but just because my environment feels like I created it for me, you know? So even something like that, like how do you structure your environment? How do you create a way where you can flow in your femininity? So those are just examples. Of course, it doesn't have to necessarily literally be that, but those are some of the things that exemplify how you create a strategy to live the life that you desire instead of waiting for that life to happen to you. And most importantly, having that life now and not waiting for it, not waiting for the perfect circumstances to experience it. Y'all get what I'm saying? I consider it as a feminine thing to set in the atmosphere. Yes, okay. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I am glad I'm not the only one. All right. So let's move on to our next example. Our next example is taste as a strategy. Okay. So with this, we're really leaning into the aesthetic and supporting it, or even grounding it with the structure. So articulating why something works, not just demonstrating that you have taste. And this is one that's really fun because this is one that gets into branding, which y'all know I love, and how you can break down why things work, why they make sense together. So, here are some examples of what that content could look like. One could be how to refine your personal brand. That is very broad. That could go in a lot of different directions, but just thinking about how you can share different tips, or you can share different structures or systems that would allow you to really hone in on what your personal brand is, or certain things that you can choose to exemplify or showcase that would communicate to others, this is what I stand for, this is who I am, right? So leaning into personal branding and sharing how people can develop their own, right? And have a really distinct one. Why certain aesthetics create emotional impact. And this would be really cool. I know that with Chelsea specifically, she loves typography, and she is masterful at putting together fonts that really communicate what it is that she's trying to convey with her brand. And I believe, if memory serves me correctly, I believe that she described herself as a font snob, like a typography snob, which I completely understand, because I know that the aesthetics are important. Regardless of what people say about it, aesthetics are important because it's subconsciously communicating something to people, right? So being able to explain that and explain why it works, explaining her decision making with her branding, which is something that I don't think that she's ever really talked about before. I think that she is maybe getting into some of that now, or like dabbling in it. So I'm hoping that when she hears this, that she takes that into consideration, because that would be really, really cool to get into. And it would not be outside of her wheelhouse because, again, it's bringing together the systems and the aesthetic thinking together. Um, Another idea for aesthetics is how to choose hotels, restaurants, outfits, or destinations. And this goes back to living that life, that luxurious life. But we're explaining how people can have that experience for themselves, or what it means, what it looks like. So if you are somebody who values really good food in your hotel, what kind of hotel should I be going to? Or if you're somebody who wants to have more clothing that is made out of natural fibers, what type of places should you be shopping at? What type of fiber content should you be checking out for on the labels of your clothes? What brands carry what it is that you're looking for, right? So these are all things that would still be supporting the aesthetics that people desire, that life that they desire. And then you're bringing in a system that allows them to be able to have those types of experiences or products. Okay. Another one is the connection between beauty, systems, and self trust. And that one right there is such a powerful one that I definitely feel that she could lean into some more, because we had a conversation when this was maybe over a year ago at minimum. And we were talking about her life, and we were talking about how she had her experiences being a caregiver basically, and giving and giving and giving to the point where she was depleted, and how she had to start to piece by piece build a life where she could trust herself again, right? A life where she could be able to enjoy more of the things that she's worked for, especially with the job that she had where she was earning six figures, but not seeing any of the benefits of that because she was giving more than what she could. So those are all experiences that really force you, in order to change them, you have to create a new system for your life, right? And that even makes me think about another idea that I'll share in a second. But creating a new system for your life, but also learning to trust yourself again, learning to trust yourself to steward your money differently, learning to trust yourself to say no and know that doesn't mean that people are going to abandon you, right? Learning to be particular or be more intentional with your giving, and knowing that you don't have to completely withdraw and never give, but now you know how to give more intentionally, and you know when it is to give and when you should, when it's more wise to hold back, right? So basically, that self trust is trusting your decision making and allowing yourself to have experiences where you can enjoy life, where you can enjoy it. So I would really love to hear her insight on that and her thoughts on that, because that's something that I know for a fact she could really bring some value on that topic. And the other thing that I thought about that's not on my list but just came to my mind is recovering from burnout. So there's this doctor, I think his name is Dr. Kofi, and he's really popular on social media in general, but I know about him from TikTok. And one of the things that he mentioned that really stuck with me was how burnout, when you're burnt out, you don't just need rest, you need new systems. Burnout is a sign that the systems that you are currently using are no longer working to your benefit. And so it doesn't make sense for you to do all of this recovery from burnout and go back to the same system that you had. And I believe he literally used the word system too. So just so you know. So I feel like there is something there with burnout and creating, designing a new system for your life that allows you to not only recover from burnout, but to no longer get burnt out. And that's the best way to put that. I don't know that burnout is something that we even have to experience. I believe that we do because of a lack of knowledge, because of a lack of self-trust, because of fear, because of a lot of things. But I don't believe that we have to experience burnout. And get into a place of burnout is actually extremely serious. So the fact that we kind of throw that word around so casually, I want us to be more intentional with that too, but that's a whole other topic for another day. So, yeah, so with that one, she's not just creating a vibe or a mood. Well, and that might be what you perceive on the surface, but it's really about how do I create the system that allows me to experience this? explaining the logic behind it, explaining the reasoning so that people see the value in it and they don't just write it off as, oh, well, that's cool, but not me, or that's not necessary, you know? So, mhm. Adrian says, absolutely. Your systems have burnt out. You're exhausted. You exhausted your systems, and now your actions are exhausting you. I love that. I love that. Save that, Adrian. Save that quote. I don't know if you ever used that before, but that's a good one. That is a really good one. All right. The last example for content, the last example is the inner system behind confidence and independence. And this is the one. Whew, this is the one that like really makes me excited because the confidence and the independence, I believe, is the reason why more people are not experiencing a luxurious life. I believe it's the reason why more people are not experiencing a life of ease, right? So let's get into these examples. So the first one of our favorite words that we love to throw around and use, but how many of us have them? Boundaries. Boundaries as a system. And I think that this one will be a really dope one to get into because we talk about boundaries, and we talk about how important they are, and I'm not going to say that there aren't people that talk about how to set boundaries, but I think that there is something special, some beauty in showing how boundaries can be a system. And I like that idea because not only does it show you how to attain it and have them, but I believe that it also creates a level of ease to it and grace. That's the word I was looking for. I believe that it communicates grace because when I hear people talk about boundaries, there also feels like there's like a little hint of shame attached to it. You know, like, why don't you have boundaries? You need better boundaries. And okay, but can you like talk to me nice? Like don't talk to me like that. You know what I mean? So I like the idea of what could come from this concept of boundaries as a system, because systems can be refined, systems can be tweaked, systems when they no longer work, you don't beat yourself over the head because this system is terrible. No, it worked for you at one point, and now it's time to update it. It's time to give it a refresh. It's time to revisit it, right? So I think that this concept can really create that grace that is required for a conversation, a topic around boundaries, because I believe that we're going to always be establishing and recognizing a new boundary in our life, and navigating how not only to establish them, but how to work with it when we don't always uphold them, you know. And how do we even create systems in our lives that allow us to maintain our boundaries, because that's something else too. So boundaries as a system. Yeah, boundaries as a that's the I'll have to clip that one because that's a good one. The second one, we got to talk about it a little bit, okay? Dating frameworks that keep you centered. And I don't talk about dating pretty much ever. I know that relationships are important, but I don't talk about them often. But I do believe that there is some value and there's a benefit to showing what that could look like. I would be really interested in seeing what type of frameworks could be created, what kind of system can be created around the topic of dating, and how not to create these frameworks to control people, right? Which is what I think is often communicated, how to get people to do what you want them to do, right? but more so, how do I remain true to myself? How do I stay grounded in who I am while also exploring people, exploring new relationships? So, dating frameworks that keep you centered. That's another idea. The next example is rituals for staying grounded as a woman in a fast paced city. Rituals that keep you grounded as a woman in a fast paced city. I believe that this is something that Chelsea does very well already. This is something that one of my favorite forms of content that she creates is being able to see how she navigates living in the city. I can recall so many things that she's done. I really do be paying attention. I love her content. I enjoy her content. It is so easy and fun and exciting to witness. And so things like going to the studio that's in her apartment to do yoga and working out, or even there was one where she was dancing in there, like she was like doing a little twerk. I was like, okay, I see you. So something like that is so cool to see, because that's a ritual that she needs, especially as a woman in a fast-paced city. Or especially, how do you maintain these rituals when Chicago starts Chicagoing? Because Chicago and the winter go together real bad, real bad. And so for me, I would definitely love to see, how do you maintain when seasonal depression might start to creep up, right? How do you stay grounded when the emotions start to feel more overwhelming because you got more time to sit with them, so something like that, those rituals, and doing so in a fast-paced city, and especially in a city that you're not from. I would love to see content around that. Another one is how to avoid chaos by designing internal order. And that is one that probably sounds super fancy, but really think about things like meditation. That can be something that you design to have internal order, or a gratitude practice, or affirmations. Like, what are some things that you do internally that help to bring you bring you back, bring you centered, so that you can navigate the chaos, the external chaos on the outside. So these are all systems, inner systems, that support confidence and build confidence. I will say reclaim your confidence. I won't say build your confidence, but systems behind confidence and independence. So this is a way for you to share the type of systems that design the confidence that people want to emulate, the ways of living that people want to emulate, because as much as the lifestyle, in terms of where you go, what you do, what perfume you wear, all of that stuff is amazing. But there are also things about your presence, about your character, about how you show up in the world, that people also would love to know. Like, how do I get that? How do I achieve that for myself? So these are all things that she could explore in her content. So what do y'all think? What did y'all think about those topics? So let me go back through them again. So the first example of her content themes are the architecture of an elegant life, the strategy behind soft life, luxury, or ease, taste as a strategy, and the inner system behind confidence and independence. Which one do you think was your favorite one? I definitely feel like the confidence and independence one probably was like my top, especially the boundaries of the system part. Like, that was a good one. I feel like also, though, I really enjoyed the strategy behind soft life. And I feel like that one might be more of like for personal reasons, but I feel like that type of living, like soft life, ease, luxury, is not something that I've typically put a lot of value into. And I'm definitely more of the person. I kind of fluctuate between the two, but I think that I tend to lean more into the, roll up your sleeves, let's get to work kind of person. Like I have been described as a workaholic. So soft life is not my strong suit. So that would probably be one that I would personally want to learn how to be better at. But I would definitely love to hear what yours are. And if you are a systems and an aesthetics thinker combo, I would really love to hear if any of these resonate with you because this is your wheelhouse. You're not Chelsea, so not everything is going to pertain to you, but a lot of these will be like, like, it might start sparking some ideas for your content as well. And while we're talking about your ideas being sparked, let me take a little sip of my drink. Let's get into how this can become a business. So, I told y'all that Chelsea at this point, she has flowed in between. She's always been in the same realm. So let me say that. She's always been in the same space, always been hovering around the same space. However, what that looks like as a business is what she is currently exploring and figuring out and even debating if she wants to do it, right? Now, because I am who I am, and I see business ideas all the time. I'm always going to root for go for it. Do it. You can do it, but I also understand how people can be burnt out by that idea or just overwhelmed by that idea, frustrated, disappointed, discouraged, and just plain tired, especially when you have been fighting really hard to make things fit and make sense and it doesn't feel like they're connecting, right? So, this part in particular, the business ideas is one that I'm so excited to get into and talk about because this is the part where it really gets to activate. It doesn't just turn into pretty content, but it turns into how can I how can I use this to help make people's lives better? You know? Okay, let me see. Love the topics. My favorite is the strategy behind soft life. All of this resonated with me. Yes. Okay. I love that, Adrian. Okay. So let's get into it. So, because aesthetic thinkers and systems thinkers create structured beauty, your sweet spot is going to be where clarity meets refinement. Okay. And so that sounds real. That sounds real lofty. I'm going to bring it back down to earth. All right. So, the first idea centers around lifestyle architecture or life design consulting. Okay. So this can basically be anything where you teach people how to build a life that feels as beautiful as it is functional. So some of those things, I'm just going to list these off rapid fire. Offers might include something like personal systems audits, life design strategy sessions, productivity for softness frameworks, travel systems for solo women, design your life for ease programs. These are all things that bring together the strategist in you, but also brings the curator, the aesthetic that people desire to have. So you're showing how to acquire that type of life. Okay. The second idea, content strategy for luxury, wellness, or lifestyle creators. And this goes back into the branding. This one, I actually believe, is going to be a very lucrative idea. If it's not something that Chelsea wants to get into, I would highly, 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 highly encourage you to explore this if you are a if you are a systems and aesthetic thinker combo and you feel particularly drawn to this because I really do see this being like a ooh, I think people are gonna really need this. So let me get into this. So you have a natural ability to structure ideas and make them look beautiful, right? So you can help people build cohesive brand ecosystems, create content frameworks, not just content, develop aesthetic identities that feel intentional, and organize their digital presence into elegant systems. And so, this is how you bring the taste and the structure to luxury, wellness, and lifestyle creators. So, all three of those areas. And man, I really want to get into why, but I might do that. I might do a separate video if I feel led to. I don't hold me to that, okay? Don't hold me to that cuz I got the content that I know I got to put out. And the ideas just be like boom, 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 boom. But yeah, if I feel led to, I will expound on why I feel like that's going to be lucrative in another video. Let's keep moving. The next one, a signature framework or methodology. Okay. So this one would lean more into like the coaching space, or I want to say it's not really coaching though. I want to say that it's more strategy, but it can have a community feel to it. I'll put it that way. So you could develop something like the ease architecture method. That's a very generic name. You're going to absolutely be able to come up with a better one, but something that embodies that. So how to create ease, the soft life systems blueprint, luxury by design framework, feminine flow operating system, urban elegance life model. So these are all programs, content, digital products, physical products, experiences, events. This can all they can it can literally be whatever you want it to be, however you want to package it. But the idea is that you are creating a framework that people can follow to acquire the luxurious living that you are presenting to them. Okay. And that can end up becoming the not only the backbone of your content, but really the backbone of your brand, especially if you become known as a person who can help people to acquire a soft life, and being able to have that be the thing that you have as recurring revenue for you. Okay. Then next one, very simple, very easy, digital products. So you can have a designing a life of elegance guidebook. You could have travel planning templates, ritual or routine planners, aesthetic Notion dashboards for soft living. That would be a very interesting one. I've never thought about using Notion outside of business, but if anybody can do it, it's going to be Chelsea. It's going to be Chelsea. Systems for women framework. So that could be centered around dating, money, general lifestyle things. And this is something that not only is very highly leverageable, but you can also scale this. And this can be something that you can either scale up into the frameworks, or you can create them as a lower ticket option for your framework, or just like an expansion of your framework. So both 3 and 4 kind of go hand in hand. Sounds true for me, where clarity meets refinement, but also with design and substance. Ooh. Ooh, I'm learning a lot about you, Adrian. All right. Last idea, a high end personal brand rooted in taste and structure. And so this is where you lean really heavy into being the brand. So if Chelsea decided, I want to be the brand, I want to embody this, I want to represent this, that can be leveraged into partnerships with luxury hotels, experiences or lifestyle brands, brand storytelling, or consulting. So it can still have a service attached to it, but you're not necessarily creating a framework, but your lifestyle and what you live and what you created shows that you understand branding. That makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Aesthetic strategy for founders or creators. So you can help them to design the way that they want their life to live. And this one feels similar to the other ones. And I can't necessarily say that there is a big difference, but What I will say is that you're not leading with the product with this example, you're leading with yourself. So you're leading with the brand, the personal brand, and the services are things that you can kind of like flex in and out of, I guess you could say. But the brand itself is what we are focusing on. And then another idea could be workshops. So, workshops at co working spaces or wellness studios. I've already seen her doing co working with some of the people that are in Chicago with her. And so, even something like that, co working, having those sessions, and that even being something that maybe expands into bigger events, and her leaning into curating those experiences would be a really dope thing to do. So she can be known for being a very well polished. It can have an intelligent approach because she is extremely intelligent, very smart, very funny. And it also still she also still brings that femininity and that ease. And so she can bring all of that into this personal brand that she is building. The next thing, which I feel also kind of goes hand in hand the with the personal brand, is a community or a membership. So it can be something like a monthly design your lifestyle workshop, a community for women who want ease through strategy. And I think that this one is cool because it's not as rigid or as it's not as structured as a framework. It has a little bit more fluidity to it, and it allows for it to naturally evolve, but it still has its core theme. So this might be a really cool one to explore and get into. Another idea for the community or membership: sessions on ritual building, planning, environment design, travel sharing with systems for safety and simplicity, and even just like luxurious, like it just fabulous. Fabulous, fabulous traveling. I look at the people that go to places like Greece, and I feel like Dubai. I don't know. I'm not really buying into the propaganda for Dubai, but the places where it looks rich. It looks, and not rich in terms of people got money there, but just like the colors, it feels like the sun almost shines differently in these places. So those type of places, those types of living, those types of experiences, that is like that's what I think about when I think about fabulous. So having something like that, even if it was like a travel group, and you plan trips, maybe they're quarterly, or that's a lot of traveling, but some people travel like that, quarterly, or maybe you just have one big trip for the year, or maybe you have one big trip and some smaller trips where you can experience luxury in places around the country instead of going out of the country. So it kind of gives people the opportunity to experience luxury at different price points. So something like that would be really, really dope. I'm literally in your business. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so those are my ideas. I love a lot of them. I love a lot of them. Some of the other ones are like, they're cool. And I think the cool thing about business in general is that you don't have to absolutely love everything that you're creating, as long as it is effective and it provides the results that people are looking for. You can have things that are like, this is not I'm not married to this. It doesn't make me the most excited. Maybe you have things that make you more excited, but this could also be some ways to like dabble and experiment with things and dip your toe in the water. So all of them are very viable options, especially when you take them and really make them your own, for you to explore what this could look like as a business. And that's absolutely what I would encourage you to do for Chelsea and for all of my systems and aesthetic thinkers. And I'll talk about the systems thinkers by themselves in my next video. So don't worry if you're not a systems and aesthetic thinker. this is not completely for you, I'm going to still break down systems by themselves. But if this one's really speaking to you, take as many of them as you're interested in, and go for it and experiment with it and see what it brings. Because, like I said earlier, one of the most important things that I want you to remember is that you, as much as you want structure and as much as you want clarity and for there to be a framework, you also cannot force it. You still are human and you are still subject to the same physics and laws of life that the rest of us are. And so you have to allow yourself to just experience life sometimes. You have to allow yourself to see what is possible, to just go on the journey, and then as you're experiencing it, you can begin to make sense of it. So you're not going to always find that you can make it make sense in the beginning, okay? So, why all of these works for an aesthetic and systems thinker combo, or systems aesthetic thinker, is that the frameworks tap into your aesthetic thinking with the harmony, the taste, the mood, and refinement. And then your systems thinker side with the integration, the structure, and the organization, and making it coherent for people. And so, as a strategist, you thrive when there is clarity, framework, and there is intentionality. And especially when it comes to your content, you are still a very intentional person. Each creative thinker is intentional in their own way, but this is just how you express yours. And then your curator archetype, it communicates coherence and beauty. And that is what creates a very strong brand, because no matter what you put out, it's consistent, it's cohesive, it makes sense together. And even when people see it subconsciously, they're connecting it to you. So you're bringing both of those to the table, which makes for a very, very strong brand. And I think that's why so many of the examples leaned into branding, because that's what you need in a brand. You need there to be the possibility and the structure for it to be long lasting. There needs to be a framework, there needs to be a system so that it can last and that it can go for the long haul, because you need time to build a brand. But then it also needs to be consistent and cohesive. So you're a perfect combo for branding. So together, it creates a brand identity that is rooted in elegance as a system, ease as a strategy, and luxury as intentional living. Okay. So this is a very highly, highly, highly monetizable combo. And I am so excited to present this to Chelsea and to present it to all of you that are watching this. And I hope that it makes you feel excited about the possibilities of where you can take this, especially if you've been in a similar place where you've been trying really hard to make things make sense. And at this point, it feels like you're really just forcing it, and you're putting yourself into an unnecessary box, right? I want to use a different analogy, but I don't have one right now. The only thing I could think about is a box, but it's almost not even a box. Here's how I say it: you're forcing yourself into a one dimensional cliche, right? A one dimensional archetype. And you've been wondering why it doesn't make sense, or why it feels forced, or why it feels like parts of it are right, but something about it still feels like I hate this. Like you're really starting to dread it, because you've tried to make it something that it is, but not in its totality. It's only one aspect to who you are. So I want to encourage you and give you permission to bring back the different dimensions of who you are and how you express your creativity, so that you can feel fulfilled in what it is that you are putting out in the world. And I feel like that is not only about the outward expression of it, but I believe it is also about what you believe about yourself and what you believe that you have permission to talk about and what you have permission to share. And one thing that I thought about, or that I felt as I was going through this list here before the live stream, was, how do I do this and still maintain my privacy? Or how do I do this without feeling like I'm obligated to share everything about myself? And I want to encourage you that no matter how transparent you are, you still get to decide what you share and what you don't. And you are, because of your systems thinking, you are able to be intentional about what you share. And so if what you are putting out and what you are sharing does not have a clear intention to it, just don't share it. And that would be what I would say you should use as your gauge. But it's going to also require for you to really learn to trust yourself again, to trust your judgment, to create those boundaries as a system, huh? Bringing it back. Create those boundaries as a system so that you are allowing yourself to be seen more fully and more and more facets of who you are without giving away all that you got. And it is absolutely possible. Don't allow that fear to dictate what you share about yourself. And also, most importantly, don't allow that to dictate what you believe that you have permission to talk about and explore, because you have permission to do it because you have the skill set. Whether you acquired it from school or whether you got it naturally, you got it. So share it. Mm, yeah, that's not in my notes. So somebody needed to hear that. That's nowhere near. That's nowhere in these notes. Okay. Adrian said, my mind is blown. I've been trying to figure out how to present and package it in a way that is congruent, effective, and makes sense. Yes, I want to be shared in its totality. That's been hard. Yeah. Yeah, and I believe that I believe that that part of that is tied to, for this is for systems thinkers specifically, and I in the systems and aesthetic thinker combo. I believe that it is tied to that self-trust, and I believe that there are some things that you some decisions that you may have made in the past that you have now tried to overcorrect, you know? You know how we go to the extremes, even going back to the boundaries example, when we go from not having boundaries to being too rigid with our boundaries. What is it called? When your boundaries are too porous at first and then they're too rigid, and there is it's a natural thing for people to do, to overcorrect when they realize it. But eventually, you have to realize that there's a middle ground somewhere, that boundaries can be firm, but they don't have to be rigid. Naturally, they're going to fluctuate and they're going to look different depending on the relationships and the circumstances and XYZ, all the other factors that come up in our life. And so I believe that that's what's happening now, is that there was something that occurred, decisions that you made, relationships that you had, where now you have chosen to overcorrect to compensate for those decisions. But now it's time for you to come into more of a middle ground and really find the harmony in it so that you can still maintain those boundaries, you can still maintain your integrity, you can still stay true to who you are, but also allow some of the other sides of yourself to shine too, and trust yourself to showcase that in a way that is intentional and that's beautiful and that's harmonious and that really brings that fulfillment and that fullness of life that you desire to experience. So I I I think that that's the best way that I can articulate that. without knowing everybody's individual circumstances, I want to offer an invitation to you, and let me see how I want to present this. So, I think that I'll save it. I think that I want you to sit with that for now. So that's what I'll say. I want you to sit with that for now and allow yourself to recall what those experiences are that I'm talking about. Okay. So take some time after this live stream to just check in with you and interrogate those thoughts and those feelings. And when we come back and I do the systems thinker breakdown, I will extend the invitation to you and let you know how you can continue that work with me. And not only will you be able to continue that work and understand what that is, but we also can work towards using that so that you can build the business that you are supposed to build. And that is something that I feel particularly heavy about right now, and almost a conviction that I feel to really speak to those women that are in this place. And man, I was not going to go to this place. Roll with me for a second on this, okay? And then I promise I will give like the full-blown invitation in the next live stream. I know this sounds like I'm kind of like skipping around here and like not saying what I need to say, but I'm trying to be responsible with what I share because I don't want to give you too much on this live stream. But here is what I've been feeling. Okay. And I'm just going to put this out there. So I've been feeling like there are women who have abandoned, who have half showed up, and who just feel flat out discouraged with business right now. And you're either in the very early stages of entrepreneurship, or you are in a place where your business looks different. Like you're starting to get stale. It's starting to feel stale. It's starting to feel like it no longer fits where you're going. And you have kind of been trying to figure it out, but you've also, like I said, like you've been half stepping it. Like you've been doing it and then you pull back, doing it and pulling back. And because you're either in and out, or you are discouraged and you maybe put it out but you haven't really done much with it anymore, because of that, it's not producing the results that you needed to. And that doesn't mean that it's not making you money at all. I don't know what the circumstances are. For some of you, it's just not making money, right? I'm just gonna say it like it is. It's just not making money. And then for other people, maybe it is producing it, but it's just not, it just don't feel right. And you've been feeling it for a long time. Like I know that it's time for me to pivot. I know that it's time for me to shift this. But honestly, I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I don't know what that looks like. And for some of you, you're frustrated and you're tired because it feels like you've been trying to force something that's just not coming together. And I want to first of all let you know that not only do I see you, but I feel it. I feel the discouragement. I feel the fear. I feel the apprehension. And I also want you to know that you're not stuck. You just believe that you are. And there is something that I'm putting together. It's already put together. It's not even action. It's already put together that I want to invite you into if you are ready to really go for it again. Like if you have the courage to step into it and to be consistent in it and to really put your best effort forward and making this thing a reality, there is absolutely no way it can fail. There is no way it can fail. And it is going to look like what you were told it was going to look like. I need you to see. I'm not breaking eye contact with you. It is going to look exactly like what you were told is going to look like. That dream was for you. That word was for you. This business was for you. And now all that you need is to recommit to it. Be willing and courageous enough to go for it and to know that the motivation may not be there. And it may not be there even after you've recommitted to it. The motivation may not be there, but the faith does. The faith needs to be there that the work that you're putting into it is going to bring forth the results. Okay. So I'm going to be extending an invitation when I go live again, talking about systems thinkers. And if this resonated with you, I want to invite you not only to come and listen to the live stream, but know that that invitation was for you. Okay. So I am so excited. I'm so excited to be putting this back out, and I feel reinvigorated. Um, yeah, I feel reinvigorated even putting it out. And I just wanted to take this moment to not only extend that invitation to you, but to tell y'all thank you. Um, I want to thank you. I just want to thank everybody that not it, whether you've been here for years or whether you're just finding me for the first time on this video. I really want to say how much I appreciate y'all and how grateful I am for y'all, because this series is not even, I'm not even halfway through this series, and it already feels like there's a different energy to this. And not only does the energy feel different, but it feels aligned. And it excites me and it scares me a little bit, because I know that that means that it's really going somewhere special. And so I just wanted to take this time to tell y'all how much I appreciate y'all. And I love that I get to come on here and do this work with you. So thank you. Thank you. Okay, you said I'm going to have to go back to watch my forgiveness video. Okay, wait, which one? What I say? That part is going to look like what I was told is going to look like. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it. Oh, okay. Don't tell me why. Don't tell me why. I'm just go back and listen to it, and then I know I'll figure out what you meant by that. Okay, y'all. So let me get off of here. We are rapidly approaching an hour and a half. I want to tell you that I will be back, let's say Tuesday at the latest. So I think for this series, I'm going to be moving. I'm gonna be moving in a bi-weekly live stream format. So Tuesday, no, actually, let me not say that, because sometimes I'm not home. I'm not home in enough time to go live. So let's say Wednesday, because I'm usually home on Wednesdays. So Wednesday at the latest, I'll be live. But if it's earlier than that, I will let y'all know. I might try to swing Sunday, so we'll see. But I'll post it in the community tab, so you'll know ahead of time. But I will not schedule it, because I will not have another fiasco like I did today. Like I don't know what that is. I don't know what glitch is in the matrix when it comes to scheduling your live streams on YouTube, but I'm not doing that. But I will tell you the time, and I will show up on that time. Okay. So we will, when we come back, we will be breaking down all of the attributes and the aspects of the systems thinker. And in the meantime, make sure you get caught up on all the videos in the creative thinking series. I'm working on adding chapters to all of the live streams so that if you want to go back and rewatch anything, you don't have to rewatch the whole thing. You can go back to the specific parts. And I will, at some point, I'll start uploading them as blog posts, but that might have to come a little bit later because that's a lot of work. And I said that I was gonna have them, but that might have to be, post series. But we'll see what happens, how that all lays out. So yeah, make sure you get caught up. And I can't wait to see y'all in the next live stream. Thank you. I thank you so much, Adrian. I appreciate you. It is always a joy seeing your name pop up. And like I said earlier, be on the lookout. I will be emailing you tomorrow and in regards to your requests. So um, I'm looking forward to that too. Okay. Y'all be good. Stay safe. Have a good night. Stay warm. And I will see y'all in the next video.